What is going on? Welcome to the C3 Pod, the new and invented C3 Pod. We're back. Comics, collectibles, and cards. We'll be talking about all kinds of stuff. And of course, our cast of guests is coming in along with me. The panelists, I guess we'll call them, are on their way. And in the upper right-hand corner, you'll find Mr. Brett Lawson, student of the game. Of course, he's a who's who here in Las Vegas for sure. The bottom right, Mr. Promotional Extraordinaire, Paul Vato in the building, and in the bottom left corner, coming to you from beautiful, and I mean beautiful, we'll get into that, Bakersfield, California. We got Brendan Allen joining us from comiccon.com. And of course, want to send a shout out to our producer, Eric, joining us today. Eric is also part of the comiccon.com team and also does a bunch of other stuff. We appreciate everybody being here today. Guys, welcome in. Welcome in.
How's it going? It's good to see everybody. We took what was that, like a month off before we got our stuff together. Yeah. And I mean, even doing this episode as like the pilot or whatever to make sure, proof of concept. The title cards are a little different, and I think the black one is my favorite, but it's not going to be three like that stacked once we figure out what we're going to do for the final logo. But we're here, we're recording. It's a good day.
I'll tell you what, I'm having a hard time understanding, how did Paul Vato's face get on there?
Well, he's always trying to get more inclusion and more like branding or whatever. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to shut this dude up. We're going to put his face on everything until he's quiet.
I think it's only appropriate, if that's the case, that Paul gets his 1 minute of self-promotion. So, Paul, take it away.
You know what? I wasn't even ready. It's been so long, I forgot how the whole format works. But really what I want to tell people about right now is my school community. School is misspelled SKOOL, and you've probably seen it all over Facebook. At least on my feed, it's all about school. And speaking of Facebook, I was logged out of my main Facebook account for about 8 months because some hacker attached their Instagram to my Facebook, and I have nothing to do with that, but yet you can't talk to Facebook. So I decided to start my own school community. And I realized no one really even missed me on Facebook. Sometimes it's like screaming into the void, because I might have, 5,000 connections on my big Facebook account. But you post something, I don't even know who sees it. So now with school, everyone can see it. And it's called Vatos Locos, as in the possessive, like my locos, Vato with an apostrophe S. So if you go to vato.tv/Vatos Locos, no apostrophe, it will take you right to my school community, and you can join and get some behind the scenes of what I'm doing. And I want to invite you guys to come and join me on my school community. And of course, don't forget to the other C, the 4CPO, Vato Coin. Make sure you buy the Vato Coin at vatocoin.com.
Wouldn't that be
thank you guys so much.
So shouldn't it be C3 Pod, then VC, right?
Vato Coin.
Okay.
Yes.
No, and then also
C3BC POD.
Exactly. And then don't forget to, of course, support Parse Rum as well. They've been coming along with the program since we started.
I love how that was probably the most wholesome promotion that we've gotten thus far from Paul. Like, it wasn't even just about brand recognition. At this point, it's actually like, a legitimate good cause. So shout out to him for that one. It's not all just, it's not all just Parcel Rum.
Now, I want to point out too that Paul is not feeling his best today. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just the thing, is we need to record on days when Paul is sick, and then we get real interaction with him.
Man of the year type stuff.
Well, guys, each week we always kind of talk about what we were up to. And a lot of times I bounce to you guys and talk, but I had what ended up unpacking to be an incredibly crazy weekend. I want to get into it because it actually ties into Brendan. And I flew out to Portland this weekend to handle some business, and I picked up my trailer. Now, understand, I have a 6x10 trailer that's been sitting in Portland for about 7 years. And my buddy up there, he keeps telling, when are you going to come get your trailer? When are you going to come? Well, I flew up there with no intentions to get my trailer, but we ultimately discussed that I would get my trailer. And so I ended up taking it, and then I rented a vehicle and took what ended up being 18 road hours trip from Portland back to Las Vegas. I left Sunday around noon. I got back into Vegas Monday night about 10 p.m. I stopped in Ripon, California to check out the upcoming and just opening on the 13th brand new store up there that is focused on Pokemon and claw machines, right? And it's called Gotcha. And I'll be going back up for the grand opening on the 13th. But I stopped by since I was driving down and checked out everything and got to see what they had going on. And then made my way down through, you guessed it, Bakersfield, California. And stopped and got to see Brendan, and we had a good conversation. He did everything he could to try to make sure that I had a bad week. But you know, overall, it's been pretty good. And with that, Brendan, what did you have going on this weekend? As you and I connected, right? We got to connect. But that wasn't really this weekend, but it was this weekend, but it wasn't this weekend.
No, so I went to the Pleasanton Scottish Games, which is Scottish Games that my family had been going to for years and years and years, and then COVID happened, and we hadn't been back yet. And the delightful thing that I brought back from the Pleasanton Scottish Games was COVID. So after I had met with you, I had to send you the uncomfortable test of, hey man, I got home and I felt like shit, so I took a COVID test, and you might want to take a test because now I'm positive. But yeah, half of the people in my house now are COVID positive, and I am so caffeinated and cough dropped up right now just to do this pod before I go back to bed for the entire rest of the day. So that's my my week past and my week ahead.
So Brendan's doing it big, right? Going out, trying to get and give the gift that keeps on giving, you know, all week long. Because it's about a week now, right, to kick COVID. I have so far been so good. I also didn't touch Brendan, but that was basically just because, like, you know, I'm just joking. We had a good time, though. It was really cool. We got to connect. I hadn't had a chance to actually come and see him in Bakersfield, so it was nice to be able to do that. Stopped by, spent an hour and a half with him, and we caught up. Took me to this cool brewery. This brewery is really cool because it's like attached to like bowling alleys and an arcade, and then they've got a live concert venue attached to it, and it's actually really big. It's got that like kind of grimy, swank, dark feel to it, and it's got metal everywhere, and it's, you know, it's very, very open, which is pretty cool. So that was, what was the name of it again, Brendan?
It's Temblor Brewing Company, and they have a stage in the main like bar and grill, but next door where all the brewing tanks are, they set up a stage. I saw the Ataris there a couple years ago. It's pretty cool. And then next to that is the Boulevard, which is, you know, it's like a common birthday place or whatever, but think like Scandia or Chuck E. Cheese without the giant wrap, but they've got these bowling alley and laser tag and all that stuff. So there's one building has a bunch of really fun stuff all in it, and it's right off the freeway, and there's a big parking lot, so it's perfect to pull a truck through with a trailer.
I love that you mentioned that they didn't have the giant rat, because as soon as you did that, Paul went like this, because he's like, oh, there's an opportunity for a hedgehog there. Right?
I think there should be more hedgehog themed restaurants, arcades, and whatnot. So absolutely, I'm still hoping that we can do my hedgehog superhero.
We'll see. And if you're new to the podcast, you'll understand. Paul actually was up for a
Children's and Family Emmy.
Children's and Family Emmy, as he portrayed a hedgehog in a production. He ultimately lost to the ruler of the underground, Elmo, but he did everything he could to make it happen. He campaigned. He went on tour with it. Well, okay, he didn't go on tour with it. It just happened to be that he tours everywhere because apparently he thinks he's Carmen Sandiego, and so we never know where Paul is at. And that's it. With that, Paul, what did you have going on this weekend? What did you do this last week?
Normally, I'm very upset because you guys rarely come to me to see what I did this weekend. And this weekend, I absolutely, like most weekends, I didn't do anything. So you're rightly so. You're not going to come to me. But no. I went and played in a big poker tournament in Wisconsin. Which sounds far, but not. It's an hour away from the suburbs here of Chicago. I didn't do as well this year as I did last month. I play in a bar poker league. Shout out to the Smokin' Aces Poker League, which is in the western suburbs of Chicago. And as long as you finish in the top 3 at one of your venues, you're invited to the main event. It's a monthly main event. Last month, and I just put up a blog. If you go to paulvatopresents.com and read my blog, you will see a little bit about what I did last month. And last month, out of 99 players, I came in 8th. So I made the final table.
Oh, wow.
I was in the money, if you will. It paid for gas. And mind you, this is all free. So people that want to learn how to play poker, you don't have to pay on a weekly basis because it is gambling. So we can't use money. But then at the end of the month, money is given at the tournaments at the end. So I did that on Saturday. And other than that, I just spent a lot of time with my mother, whom I'm not taking care of. That's a strong word. I'm spending a lot of time with my mother here in the western suburbs, and that's kind of what brings me to Chicago. So yeah, I mean, I realized how much I miss Chicago. I don't know what's going to happen in the winter. I'll probably still be here, but man, it makes me realize how much I miss the Chicagoland area and the comedy and the improv and all that. So yeah, that was kind of my weekend. I'm sorry it was not as exciting. Maybe if you guys send me to Tijuana or something, I can come back with better stories.
Well, what I don't understand is Paul started to take the credit that he's taking care of his mom. And let's just be fair. Paul's the same person that when we go to a commercial break, he's like, "Ma, we want the meatloaf," right? And he's like yelling at, so I mean, I was about to go there, but you took the gas, you took the foot off the gas pedal and you were there. Speaking of gas pedals, the guy at the top right, Brett Lawson, you're always up to something.
Yes.
Right? That's always got things going on. And of course, look,
very active.
He's a sports head too, right? So we're in that like giddy excitedness because the NFL season's starting. My Chargers are playing on Friday night. Brazil, right? They're playing in Brazil.
Sao Paulo,
and
yeah.
Kind of excited. But what do you got going on, man? What's been happening? How are you? And
honestly, man, it's actually funny because all the weekends and the middle late summer leading up to it, that's when you want to go do whatever you get. I guess any unchecked box, I guess you could say that's what you want to check. But then once you get to that late August period, early September, college football's off and running. That's my favorite sport. I'm like a kid in the candy store. You had games on Thursday, you had games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When I'm not watching that, I'm watching the Yankees actually finally do something against the Houston Astros for the first time that I could ever recall, maybe ever, at least in recent history. Obviously, they have a long way to go in the AL East, but I digress. But either way, in between that, in between NFL action kicking off tomorrow, you have week 1 on Sunday. Like Steve just said, giddy is the perfect word. Again, you kind of have that period of, I guess you could say, just overall the dog days of summer, things get a little dormant, as we talked about. Depending on what you follow and what you're really into, there are certain things that kind of could pique your interest at certain points in the summer. But one way or the other, it always kind of goes back to the dog days if you don't have that football action in there. And the fact that football's underway, baseball's heating up, before you know it, hockey and basketball are going to be back. And in the meantime, you have some of the biggest fights in boxing and MMA. You have the Ryder Cup in golf. It was a great season in the majors. You have the U.S. Open going down in Queens right now. It's just a great time of year after kind of a period of, again, dormancy. But just like you blink and you miss it, next thing you know, it's off and running. So it's just a great time to be involved in sports media, great time to be a sports fan. But it's also cool because it makes it that much more exciting to partake in discussions and activities like this show, especially with what we're doing. We're excited to kind of repackage it in a new way, shape, and form. So it also gives you a chance to tap into your inner nerd as well, in addition to all the sports festivities going around. So yeah, if you're a talking head, it's definitely cloud 9-ish to be sure.
Well,
I'm glad that you acknowledge that all that sports stuff is a nerdy fandom, because that's what the show is all about, is all the different nerdy fandoms.
That's all it is.
And you know what? I think we landed on comics, collectibles, and cons, did we not? Because you said cards at the top of the show.
Listen, Linda, look.
Working title.
Listen, Linda. I'm going to make mistakes, or in this case, be a half hour late. Look, it didn't start well for me today. Let's be factual here, right? Everyone else was on time today. Well, almost everyone else. And, here I am. And Eric makes a good point. He says to me that the third C can always change. So see?
Well, no, because then you open it up for Vato to be like, no, it's coin, it's cigars, he's going to be like continually bugging us to change that third C. Then if you open the bidding back up, we're going to be hearing about that forever.
Cuban sandwiches. I'm adding whatever I can that only begins with a C. So yeah, absolutely.
It's a good thing.
Corona.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. You mentioned your nerdy fandom, and I thought this is a really good time to discuss this. So both Brett Lawson and Brendan Allen will be co-hosting the main stage of PokeCon, which is coming up at the Ahern Hotel and Convention Center on September 20th and 21st. Preview night on the 19th. The preview nights for VIPs only. You have to buy your VIP tickets, and I would do that soon because I think ticketing closes on Saturday. And after that, it'll only be walk-ups, which means that preview night will be off your books because you won't be able to buy a walk-up VIP ticket on Friday night. So you want to get that in now. VIP tickets starting at $30, daily tickets starting at just $10. And Michelle Knotts is going to be there, which is really cool. She is an incredible voice actress, but I have to tell you, as we dug into her, something that's really cool. And if you're a Pokemon, fan, she's done a bunch of like the short, videos, movies, series that they've done. And one that she did was a Journey series that actually correlated to the set Journey Together, which is from the Scarlet and Violet era, which is the current playable game, right? And in it, she is 2 of the main starter Pokemon, including Squirtle. She's also Jessie from Team Rocket. And so that, which is really cool because there's a variety of characters that she portrayed that actually have cards in that set and are available at different levels. So there's the rares, the different colored ones, the different shines, the master balls, all these different things. So she'll be joining us. And then our special guest for the show as an ambassador is Chum Lee, my friend from Pawn Stars. So Chum and I were actually in an episode of Pawn Stars where Gary, who became Gary the Pokemon King, he is now one of the staples in the Pokemon world because he brought in a Charizard collection, which was pre-COVID, that I evaluated at the time at over $350,000, almost $400,000 collection. I reevaluated that collection during COVID, and at one point it was worth $3.2 million, and current market on it probably about $1.5 million if that collection was sitting in front of me today. Really impressive collection, has some cards in it. In fact, Logan Paul purchased some cards out of that collection from Gary, which are some of the most iconic cards that are out there right now.
Is that the one that he wears around his neck when he comes down to the ring?
So that illustrator, he did not buy that from Gary, but he bought a PSA 10 Charizard in which he cracked it, submitted it to BGS trying to get a gold label or a black label, and did in fact black label that Charizard, making it at the time the 3rd black label BGS Charizard. So he was able to convert a PSA 10 to a black label BGS. That's probably a discussion for another time, but essentially in the world of trading cards, Beckett BGS doesn't have the market value and share that PSA has, but their grading standard for the top became one of the absolute finite ones, because there's cards out there that there might be 50 PSA 10s and then there's only one black label in Beckett because of their grading standards. So to be able to convert that card made it quite a bit more valuable. It was a interesting move because you take a gamble whenever you crack open a slab that you have to break the case to pull the card out of, that right. It's going to go somewhere and could be subjective to another person's opinion, thought, idea. And
also breaking it out of the case can potentially damage it and get you a worse score.
Absolutely. And I've seen it happen. And in fact, I've seen it happen where there was a Mike Trout rookie. I remember this, that was being done, that was being crossed over by someone. And it was a PSA 9, which was really strong. It was a card numbered to 10, right? So super rare Mike Trout rookie. And they cracked it and they submitted it and it came back a PSA 8. And so then they cracked it and they resubmitted it to Beckett and it came back a BGS 8. So somewhere along the way, maybe they created a flaw, maybe they did something, I don't know, but I did see that happen. So yes, it's a gamble. It's definitely not a guarantee, and it's one of those things. But I think PokeCon is going to be a lot of fun, guys. I think there's a lot of interesting things. And look, we have all these different shows going on and stuff. What really kind of makes this event standalone a little differently is the fact that at this show, this is a trading card show, which generally trading card shows just set up tables and they go. We have activations. So you guys will be hosting events at the main stage, which will include like Plinko, Spinner Wheel, a match game where people will be able to match Pokemon and win prizes. And, our title sponsor, Legacy Sports Cards, they were gracious enough to provide a lot of prizes for those activations. And Gameday Sports Cards also is providing a lot of prizes for those activations as well. People will come up, they'll get to play the games. It is a pay to play, but they'll win something no matter what, whether it's a Japanese booster pack or something like that, or they'll win one of the big prizes, which could be an elite trainer box. It could be a graded card. It could be a variety of different things for the bigger prizes. And generally what we do is we allow them to pick which of those items they'd like to have. Look, you won the big prize on the wheel, or you dropped it in the special spot on Plinko, and we'll do that. Now, last time we did this, guys, right? Last time you guys hosted together, Paul Vato was asleep on the stage.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that there's a chance that Paul Vato may be asleep on the stage again. I'm not sure.
Paul Vato is in charge of bringing tacos, so he won't show up until 6 or 7 o'clock at night, even though we're hungry at 10 in the morning.
Yes.
So I wouldn't expect him before dark at that show if he does arrive.
And all I got to say is this, and maybe a late addition, but Steve, if there's any way possible that Brennan and I can get those Gene Rayburn mics, if we're going to do a match style game, we would love to have
Oh
that
my
in the
gosh.
works.
I can ask, the director of entertainment is Mad Mike from MTV's Am I Right?
Yep.
Mike has made a lot of things happen.
Yes.
I can ask. You never know.
And Mike, hey, I got pretty tight with Mike last time around. So, just tell him that,
Yeah, I was about to say the stuff that you were listing off, I can already tell like 3 people that are going to be up on that stage doing the tech for us and stuff like that. And those guys by themselves have some pretty awesome like celebrity pull and stuff like that too, because you're like, oh yeah, this is Mike. And I was like, Mike looks familiar. You're like, yeah, he was on that show. And I was like, oh my God, that's Magic Mike. Anyway.
Fun stuff. It should be a blast. And that's what's so cool about it too, because every convention I've worked with Steve, and I've directly met Brendan for the first time in person at one of those conventions. But over the years, everyone that I've worked with Steve gets to kind of tap into a different pop culture avenue, a different pop culture channel. And that's what's so cool, because coming from the sports media side, you kind of just take your same approach regarding the coverage of what you're doing on that front to the nerd front. And it's the same exact thing, because just like Brendan said, all sports is just another type of nerdy fandom. It may not always have the aesthetic of such, but in terms of the passion and the conviction that goes into it, it's almost like just a different side of the same coin, really.
No, and this event, is fun because you guys get to play around a little bit. Whereas in some of the other events that you guys have done, there's a little bit more like seriousness to it. We got manufacturers involved and whatever.
Right.
Like one of the events that you guys are going to have is with the Las Vegas Funkaholics. They're going to have a giveaway event on the stage where people are just going to be able to come and they're going to be giving stuff away, and people are going to have a chance to get it and whatever. And you're going to be able to play with the crowd and have a good time. On the flip side, we have, characters, right? And we got character photo ops that are going to happen. We're going to have a life-size Eevee, a life-size Gengar, and a life-size Pikachu that will all be available for photo ops. And photo ops will be twice a day, 11 and 2 p.m., both Saturday and Sunday. And then we have, our friends at Trading Card Garage putting on an incredible Pokemon tournament. Now, Paul, you have to stay away from here. Okay. And Paul's not allowed over there. And the reason being is because, Paul, we don't need these players getting upset because you're asking them, oh, well, when are you going to play that Charizard? Or, and then people are like, you're not supposed to tell people what's in my deck. Why are you looking over my shoulder, man? But no, Trading Card Garage put together a really great tournament. You can go to Trading Card Garage directly, look up tradingcardgarage.com. You can go and sign up for the tournament directly there. You can also get the link by going to pokeconlv.com. And first place, $400 for the Pokemon tournament. Second place, $200. Third through fourth places, getting $100, and fifth through eighth, getting $50. So there's payouts for people still to have a good time. Plus, there'll be some other incentives. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pikachu crashed the tournament, because that's what Pikachu does sometimes, and could potentially, maybe give some stuff away. Or
I know we're tight on time for this one segment, but I want to point something out real quick, because when we're talking about nerdy fandoms and how they overlap, Paul and I play poker, and Steve sent me the information about this tournament, and I was like, cool. So it's guaranteed prize money on this tour. And he goes, what the hell are you talking about? Guaranteed prize tour? And I'm like, it's a tournament tour, and guaranteed prizes means that no matter how many people sign up, I'm sure a ton of people are going to sign up, but you're not wasting your day when you show up and you think you're going to get $400 if you win the thing, and you only end up with 75. $400 is guaranteed for the top prize, and that carries over into the poker thing, where if you're at the final table and your last 5, last 6, last 8, whatever it is, you end up going home with guaranteed money at that point.
And this will be fun. It's a good time, and really this is kind of like to celebrate the fun that Pokemon is. You know, the vendors are going to be there, and that'll be. And then the last thing I should mention, because look, if you're not a Pokemon fan, say your kid is, right, but you remember Garbage Pail Kids. Well, we have Gross Card Con as part of the concept, so we have 9 Gross Card or GPK creators that will be joining us for the show. That will be there. These are original artists. These are current artists, whatever it is, right? So we have that going on as well. That's all part of your ticket. So go to PokeconLV.com, grab tickets today, and you'll be able to come on out and check out the show. Guys, we're just getting kicked off with the C3 pod. It's just getting started. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be discussing the new comics coming out for the week. This is the 3C. Oh, my gosh. Try it again. This is the C3 pod. Here on the One of Us Comics Network.
Patty's the worst. Comicon.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comicon.com.
Dude, what's crazy is that Paul is the only person I know that put handles on the side of his toilet to hold himself down.
You know, we're recording at this point. We're back from break. We only have the one commercial.
We're not back yet. Eric will tell us when we're back.
I mean, this is great for Patreon.
Yes.
No, we definitely are back. Just got the note from Eric, the producer. So that's a little bit of a sample of what's going to be on our Patreon. We're going to do a little bit of a candid discussion of the events that we're doing here. That's going to be a little bit more off the cuff and just more opinion. I know we all sound very opinionated now, but we're even more opinionated when the cameras are.
Just wait. There's more. We would like to take a second and say thank you to our friends at the Nerd Bar, who sponsor this segment of the show. Nerd Bar, located in Fremont Street here in Las Vegas in the Neonopolis. They always have great events, all this stuff. They just did a cool remembrance for Sabu. They're always doing cool things. They have an arcade in there. They have bowling alleys. They have a full-size UFC ring. Not that that's something that you can get into on a regular basis, but I'm sure if you have a party, you want to reach out, you can do it. But the Nerd Bar always has things going, open 7 days a week here in Las Vegas, Neonopolis, right above Johnny's Toy Shack. And you guys make sure you go out and support them. But this segment is about the new comics coming out for the week. And there's some interesting books on this list. And it's very DC heavy this week, which is really weird because it's usually for us, we're talking a little bit heavier Marvel and less DC. And DC has really been stepping up their game. The whole Absolute line is going crazy. We just got some really cool things. One thing I want to mention before we get into the comics, though, if you haven't gotten a chance, you have to go out and watch the trailer on Marvel's Zombies. They are doing an animation series of Marvel Zombies, and it is an actual adult concept. It is not for kids, and it's done. It's very graphic. And that Zombies line, if you read Marvel Zombies, it's very graphic, right? You have the Avengers are out there, and the Avengers are actually zombies, and they're looking to wipe out the new superhero race and all of this stuff. So I think it would be very, very cool to check that out. Make sure you guys do that. It's up on YouTube. I think it dropped just the other day. And again, Marvel Zombies is coming to you guys. You're going to have an animation. Very, very cool series, and I look forward to it. But DC heavy, and Brendan, this is your time to shine. You take it off. So what's the first book this week?
All right, it is DC heavy, and the reason for that is because Batman Day is coming up on September 20th, and so DC very wisely is leading up to Batman Day by dropping a ton of Batman titles, and they're doing some really cool things with the titles. So first up is Batman and Robin number 25. This one's a collector key because it's got the first appearance of the Quiet Man. The solicit says, with Memento's reign of terror at an end, Damian is more committed than ever, both as Robin and as Wayne of Gotham. But when an unassuming hitman known only as the Quiet Man arrives in Gotham on a mysterious mission of revenge, one of Batman's deadliest enemy, thought to be dead, returns. One of the things that I think is really cool here, and I don't think a lot of publishers do this enough, is it says right on the cover, a new story arc begins here. It's hard to find entry points into comics, especially one like DC Comics or Detective Comics, Batman, Superman, that have been around forever, is to find that spot to jump in where a new story is starting. So it says right on there, it's a new story arc. It's got a first appearance, and this is an okay cover. I don't know what's going on with the shiny gold penguin, but everything about this cover is pretty solid.
I like it. I was kind of looking at the Robin, and I just feel like there's a little disproportion in Robin's body, right? I get Robin's smaller, and he is, but it's not like Robin is 4'4" and weighs 96 pounds, right? Like, he's not, it's not him. When you look at the Robin that's up on the DC title above, right? He's more proportionate there. He's still shorter, right?
Because even Damian Wayne, like, he may be a younger version of many of the Robins, compared to his predecessors, but like what Steve said, he still doesn't look so diminutive to where it looks kind of off kilter, right? He looks smaller and younger because he is, but for a kid, he's also jacked, and he's an actual assassin. So it's one of those things where he still kind of looks the part despite his dimensions, and here it kind of looks a little underwhelming.
Well, and when I think of a gymnast, I think, 5'8", 5'9", 180 pounds, pure muscle, not much body fat, right? And this definitely doesn't.
180 is big for a gymnast, dude. You're talking like 130, 140.
I mean, I'm thinking more, look, I live in Las Vegas, man. I'm thinking of these Cirque dudes that do these incredible stunts, that their strength is just incredible. And maybe, maybe they are lighter. Maybe I'm giving too much credit. I don't know. But
180 is like, I'm 6'1". 180 is what my doctor tells me I'm supposed to be. There's no way like a 5'6" or 4'8" gymnast is pushing 180.
True, but to be fair, I don't know if there's ever been a point in human history where BMI has ever been accurate, to the point where now even doctors scoff at it. So, maybe just put an asterisk on that one.
I was saying 5'8", around that. That's not unbelievable,
Sure, but let's talk about proportions on this next cover. So there's a variant of that, which is the cover G, and this is a 1:25 ratio incentivized cover. Ashley Wood did this one. It's unconventional, but it still very much has the flavor of Batman. And one of the things that I talk about a lot when we're talking about these collectors is that there's a lot of space on here to get the entire creative team to sign if you ever are at enough conventions or they're in one place at one time. Even though this is a little out of the style, it still very much fits the like brooding nature of Batman. But those legs and those arms, compared to the trunk size on Robin, I hadn't thought about it. So you were saying that on the other cover, but that is wildly out of proportion.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the reason for this is. Now, this to me, the proportions on this is very Paul Vato friendly, right? Like this is like if I said, Paul Vato, you draw your character, which by the way, Paul has taken a time out because he's on siesta apparently. He's back.
His food arrived and he doesn't like when we show him chewing.
I love that, you can see he was muted too. So, he's yelling at his mom, telling him, the eggs aren't right. I need them done again or whatever, as he takes care of her. Right. Paul, what's your thoughts on this cover? What do you think on this compared to some of the other comic covers that you've seen?
I mean, that would be like me and Brendan, me all powerful, just, buff. And then I got my little pipsqueak friend as Robin. So no, I do. I love this variant. I love this whole thing. But I thought because he was the boy wonder, though, wasn't he? I know he was a gymnast, but so yeah, he's small, right? He's supposed to be small, I think.
I mean, being small is okay, but it's small and disproportionate. It's like that combination.
But this one is obviously an artistic take, so it's right. More forgivable on this one than it is on the other one because this is a very clearly stylized cover.
Yeah, and that's why like stylized is the perfect word, because the immediate second you see bats, you think of more of like kind of like the Frank Miller Dark Knight version, but on steroids. He's even more he's boxier than he is in that version, but it kind of revokes the same type of light that they try to, the same type of theme they try to approach with that source material and kind of everything that's sprung off of it. But even then, I mean, that was a female Robin in those storylines, and even she probably was more better built than this Robin. But like you guys said, that's kind of what they're trying to get across with the imagery and with the illustrations themselves. So I get it. But again, it's one of those things where I think it's important to remind people how, you know, a true Robin should actually look. But once you actually get into the depth of it, the pages of it, then it may look a little bit different anyway.
Sure.
You know,
speaking of Jason Todd,
I have really
go
quick.
ahead.
I just want one more observation that I make. How many pouches on the utility belt?
Oh, just wait. There's so many Batman covers. Just wait till you see some of the pouch variations that we get into here.
I mean,
that is very Liefeld-esque though, with the amount of pouches there for sure.
There's like 8 pouches there, maybe a buckle. I don't see any room for a batarang. There's definitely
batarangs are in the back.
You know, again, it's, you know, we'll see. Okay,
that's a law enforcement draw. Yeah. It's from the hip and it's cocked 60 degrees forward.
All right. Next
one up is Red Hood #1. So basically what they're trying to do here, I believe, is take Jason Todd and separate him from Gotham so that he can be his own character. It says Jason Todd relocates to New Angelique. This one's got the first appearance of Lieutenant Henrietta Forrest. That's probably his Gordon. First appearance and death of Royale. And then it's got a cameo of the Tower, which is going to be voice only. So there's like 5 keys on this one thing. They're really hitting it hard. Like I said, they're giving Jason Todd his own Gotham, his own Gordon, his own set of circumstances. And he's probably going to get a few like cameos from the regular Rogues Gallery. But this is an opportunity for them to separate him and give him his own space where he's not constantly in the shadow of Gotham's Dark Knight.
And are we going to have Huntress in the works here too? It's looking like maybe.
I think I saw something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like it.
Well, and I would think she's a perfect, you know, she's a perfect like counterpart to him. And then, you know, what I like about these is that it gives them an opportunity to, one, you know, like Red Hood's Outlaws, right? I'm sure at some point will be pulled in, and that will give an opportunity to be a little bit more storyline on those characters that don't really get a lot of run, right? You don't get a lot of crossover. You don't see them coming and joining in other, you know, comic book runs or whatever it is. And then these always give an opportunity to create new characters, right? So there's a chance that we could see some really cool new characters come out of this, especially because when they're birthed from like a dark, you know, a dark scene, right? They tend to come out a little bit more, you know, collected. People draw to those characters a little bit more. They like those. That's why you've seen Marvel or DC really like changing, like, you know, the characters, like, I don't know, making, you know, Mr. Freeze more sinister and looking a little bit more sinister.
A lot of
something that they've done that hadn't been done, right?
And it kind of really started in 2013, right? Because everyone's going to say it's, you know, Zack Snyder and all that, but it's really not. It's really more so with what they started to do with the Injustice storyline, the Injustice game, the Injustice comics, the Injustice cartoons. Everything became dark and brooding to where that became really thematic of DC. And in contrast to that, Marvel was kind of taking the opposite approach, which is why they kind of diverged more than probably they had ever been diverged before. But now with what you have James Gunn's bringing to the table, kind of a more Silver Age type of approach, type of feel, despite being very modern. So it's actually kind of going to be interesting that you bring that up, Steve, because I'm curious to see, you guys know better than I as far as the collectibles aspect. I'm curious to see if now, because the aesthetic and the tonal aspects of DC may be changing, kind of reverting back to what they once were, maybe if we'll see kind of a skew in that direction as well. Maybe not, because there's a lot of, you know, let's just be real, there's a lot of edgelords out there who want the dark and the gritty stuff. When it's done right, it's done brilliantly. It can be done brilliantly. It could be executed in very strong fashion. But if it's overdone and it misses the mark, then it just looks a little bit too much. Too much was kind of planned to go into the actual feel of it rather than the story and the characters.
Well, and
I want to point something out real quick. Can I point something out real quick? Sorry, Steve. Yeah. It's funny to me because when I asked for the blurbs for everybody's description and stuff, one of the things that happens with Brett is he downplays his comics knowledge. And the funny thing is that he's like, no, I'm the sports guy. I'm an outsider, whatever. And then he comes in and he starts talking about stuff. And there's like 2 points he made in there that I'm like, dude, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that's right. So the unassuming and unwilling comics expert that we have in Brett will never tell you how much he knows about comics until you start talking to him about comics, and all of a sudden all this obscure knowledge comes out.
Just a little playing coy, which works because, you know, the same thing is Brennan's not a huge sports guy. But whenever I talk baseball with Brennan, you think he like covers it for a living. Like you think he's like a baseball beat writer, or so, you know, even a guy who does like daily fantasy and daily betting. So I kind of like it. You know, we play coy where we need to.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan's one of those guys that hits a home run, talks smack before he gets to first, and gets in a fight before he gets to second. He's that kind of guy, right?
A la Rafael Devers, right?
Absolutely.
You're welcome for that
Absolutely.
reference.
Beautiful reference.
Look, there's a really cool Jim Lee variant of this book. Did we pull that cover?
Yeah, it's coming up right now. So it's
Oh
the
my
1 in
God.
50. And here's the thing that I love about this. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to say. We were just talking about calling back to previous stories and things like that. You look at this cover and you immediately know the callback that they're doing with it. What is it?
The death of Damian Wayne.
Death of the Family. Death of the Family.
Death
So
of the
this is a nod to Death in the Family and Under the Hood.
Yes.
It's leading into the new series, but it's calling back to the roots of the character, why he put on the hood initially. This is a very, very cool cover.
Definitely. And, Jason Todd is one of those guys. He's like, in those recent years, he's kind of become more of this like figure, this popular because of what the Red Hood has brought to the table. And what's so cool about that is because now it's kind of tapping into the mythology of that period of time in the Batman comics with Denny O'Neil. That was such a pivotal time. And like Death in the Family is one of those things that at one point it was like, I mean, you guys probably know, it was like universally shunned. Like people hated it. It was not even polarizing. It was almost like unanimously hated. And now it's viewed as one of the all-time great storylines with like the passage of time and the fact that they've readdressed elements of the character since then.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the Jason Todd character independently, when you stand alone, like in DC, there's characters that like really stand out. Like on the villain side, obviously the Joker, right? Mm-hmm. But then it's kind of like Joker and then Bane, right? Those are kind of like the order of those villains. When you get into this type of character set, it really goes, you've got Batman. We could mention Robin, but even at that, I would say that the Jason Todd character is a bigger character to the collector, like comic book collector, than actually Robin is. Like I would say there's more people that collect Jason Todd than collect Robin.
And let me ask you this, because I would think even if you're looking at Dick Grayson, I'm willing to bet at this point in time, there's more people who collect Nightwing than anything going back to the Dick Grayson days of Robin. So at this point, Damian Wayne is kind of just due to timing, is kind of been able to solidify himself as the Robin, and with good timing too. Because again, not to make it too much to the cinematic aspect, but if you're going to be having a Brave and the Bold movie in a few years, you want Damian Wayne as much out there in the forefront as Robin, and it works because anyone who asks, oh, but what about in the past when it was this version of Robin or that version of Robin? Yeah, but we've moved on from that, and this new Robin has kind of carved an identity of his own, and now you have the Red Hood over here, you have Nightwing over here. That's the next step in their evolution, where this Robin is evolving in his own way, shape, or form, but he has to form his own identity. And that's kind of been the case with the character for a while now. He's just kind of becoming more gradually accepted.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would say that, you're kind of going down and you probably, you go Batman, and then you probably have, the Catwomans, the Poison Ivies, those type characters, obviously the Harley Quinns, right? And I think that right behind that is Nightwing, is the Jason Todd Red Hood is. So though it's a strong character set, it's got a big collector market to it. Also, Paul is trying to figure out who Jason Todd is and Dick Grayson. he's like Googling. I see he's got Googling eyes on. He's like, he put his glasses on to make sure he could see. He's like,
are you aware as an outsider that there have been like 6 different Robins now at this point?
No, not at all. I mean, was Dick Grayson, was that the original Robin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I only knew that there was one Robin, and it was Dick Grayson. I didn't realize that there was boys.
So
girls,
Dick Grayson
men,
grew
women.
up and became a detective. That's Nightwing. And then they've got Damian Wayne. Jason Todd, they had to kill a major character in the Bat family, and that's the one that they killed, was Jason Todd. Jason Todd has since been resurrected. Well, actually, has there been another Robin, or is it just 3? Am I missing one?
Tim Drake. For a while.
Tim Drake, yeah.
Oh, Tim Drake, and also
Robin.
Stephanie Brown. Producer Eric, that's what he's correcting me here. There's also Stephanie Brown, who played Robin. So there have been 5 that we can think of right this moment. But as soon as we go off air, there's probably another one that we're not.
Well, and even you go Teen Titans Robin, which is a whole nother character set too. Which down the road, that'll be probably another 5 years or so. They'll do something with those, Teen Titans, but in live action that will be part of that, give a little bit of, hilarity to Beast Boy and stuff like that. But again, it's one of those characters that it's right on that cusp of could it become bigger and overtake some things? Absolutely. Is this a character set that could be brought in? I do believe so. And bringing Red Hood back right now is pretty good, considering the fact that the Absolute line has been so strong. So I think that definitely is something we'd have. Now we got more Batman, right, coming from DC.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think they're doing really well right here too is they're using this opportunity. Batman Day is upcoming to do a new relaunch of Batman, and I know that it's one of those things where it's like another #1. Well, yeah, it's another #1, but this one looks pretty cool. This is the A cover. It says brand new era of Batman starts here. They've got Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez working on this. It says the best superhero in comics gets a brand new first issue to kick off this new era that will test Batman and Bruce Wayne like never before. I think it's smart. One of the things that we talked about before about #1s is that, if it plays well, then they've got this new thing that started with #1. If it doesn't play well, they can go right back to original numbering and pretend like this is one of those little offshoots in the multiverse. Yeah. But I have high hopes for this one. The creative team looks solid. And I mean, that's a decent cover right there. There was a Batman that wore blue like this before, wasn't there?
The McFarlane.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and McFarlane Batman, and Jim Lee had a Batman too that was like this. So I would say again, those two. That's kind of what it reminded, and the pointy cape, right? That was the McFarlane thing, right?
Yeah.
So I like this version. I actually like the color set. It's a little Nightwing-ish, but
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
I definitely like it. I think what they did here, which is nice, is that they kept this as part of the legacy of the run of Batman. So this, if you're a Batman collector, this is just a legacy extension. And it's part of the all-in, right? So from that standpoint, I think it's great. We got a little bit of a different take on the Batman logo on there as well, which is pretty cool. Kind of has that.
It reminds me of the
look,
the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker logo.
Yes.
Yeah, it
circa
does.
Circa 1999. I love it. And that is what's cool because, there's so much talk about now about the suit. For such a long time, they went for even just in the general culture, they went for the hyper-realistic look, right? For a long time, you had the gray and the black look. Now there seems to kind of be a bit of a renaissance with the old blue and the gray with the yellow symbol and the whites in the eyes. People want that in live action. They want, Gunn to tap into that in the next cinematic portrayal to kind of counter what we've gotten recently, which is great, but is very much real world, down to earth type of base. So even though we may not get something like this, or even if we do get something like this in live action, I think it's cool because Batman is the one character where you could change the logo, you could change the look, you could change the color pattern, you could change the utility belt, but it's always still there. There's always going to be the cape, there's going to be the cowl, there's going to be the symbol, there's going to be the belt. So how you play around with it almost makes it better because there's some characters like a Superman, like a Spider-Man, where you don't really want a whole lot of variation in the suit, but he's one who actually works really well with that variation, as long as you don't get too elaborate with the colors. But blue and black has always been in the color scheme.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the trade dressing on the corner there, you see the classic, the gray with the blue tights and whatever, 100%. And it looks like they 100%. Added more black into it, but they're going kind of with that same color scheme because the belt has that gold on it. Now they're doing something pretty cool with this, where there's like 6 different covers that are all called cover N, and they're doing a blind bag foil variant. And some of the artists on here are Stanley Artgerm Lau. That's going to be the next one to come up. And then Gabrielle Dell'Otto also has a cover N. And looking at this cover right here, this is so Batman, it's ridiculous. And I wanted to point out all the pouches here because this looks like it's the new style guide for Batman. That belt buckle will come up on every one of them. And the number of pouches and their placement changes and varies a little bit. But that belt buckle is apparently the buckle for the style guide for this series.
Looks great.
Oh, that's very cool. It's a nice take on the bat belt. I see it now. This is significantly different than the other art we were talking about because I felt like, and look, that was obviously more sketch style, right?
Yeah.
This is more art realism. And I think this is done very well. Batman's got that strong chin. He's got the Bruce Wayne almost double chin kind of thing, the point in the chin. Not quite there, but you can see that, he's got that square jaw and strong. Look, Artgerm does a great job on art, and they've really put together some rock stars for this blind bag series. And this is one of them. This cover, this is going to be a strong cover for a long time. And, you'll hear us on this podcast talk about signature space, and to be able to hit that in a bright color, a white, a bright blue, right across the torso and arm. that would look incredible,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for the signature. And if you look down just below the cape on his underneath his right arm, the Art Germ signature you can see on there. If you can imagine that being on the torso, kind of into that shaded area, would look really, really nice on this. And then there's great spots to do remarks up top, right? So like up above the cape, where the cape curve is, you could have someone do a remark, and the remark, you could ask for, hey, can I get the Joker peeking over his shoulder, or can I get, you know, something like that? It could be really, really cool. So I think this really opens that creativity for the artist when it comes to the second life of this book, which is when it gets brought to a convention, sat on their table and asked to sign and, you know, put a sketch or a remark on there.
So here comes the Gabriel Delato.
Okay. No,
and
Paul,
this is
you're
another
not allowed
one.
to think anything there, Paul, because Brendan didn't like your joke about him being your sidekick.
We're getting to the end of the
moved
segment,
on
and I know
from
there's
you,
like
Paul.
2 more things we want to talk about, so I just want to get to this cover real quick, and Paul, tell us all about it. But this one is another style. That other one was like almost photoreal, and this is like a watercolor style. This is by Gabriel Delato. And a lot of the points you just made out about it being, you know, a lot of signature spaces on it. It's very dynamic. It's very Batman, but it's a slightly different style. It's almost photoreal, but it's more of a watercolor style. And I love this cover as well. And you'll notice that, like I said, that belt buckle is identical to the belt buckle we just saw, but without so many pouches. So I think the belt buckle and the bat symbol are things that we're going to see in the book, because those look like they come out of the same style guide.
I think that Delato might be my favorite artist right now. I really like, you know, J. Scott Campbell, but I think that the stuff that Gabriel Delato is coming up with and the way he's doing this, you know, it's starting to remind me, like his career path is starting to really remind me of Alex Ross, right? And I love Alex Ross too, because of his use of lighting and everything, but the shading that's in this, right? And the reflection. My favorite thing on this entire piece is that he's got a reflective logo on his chest.
Yep.
And the arm on the left-hand side is is that reflection of the cape and the arm right there. Yep. You can see it, and it kind of continues through, and then up on the right-hand side, it goes back to where, hey, nothing's blocking it and showing the chrome, right?
And my favorite thing is the same exact type of thing. You get that shiny glare, that reflection, but look at the cowl. Look at how you get it off the cowl, kind of on the left side over above the left eye. Yep. You almost kind of see it shining off to where you can't even see the socket for the eye.
And that follows down too. It follows the cape down, and it goes down to the tip and everything.
Looks great.
Which that's pretty cool. So Paul, of these last two covers, which of the two? Yes, Brendan, I'm going to let Paul talk. Of these last two covers, which one really stood out to you? Which one did you like the most?
Can we? I mean, I'm thinking this one, but can we quickly go back to the other? No, this one. I like this one better. I mean, because I like that detail. I like the utility belt that it is. You know, because that's always been such an iconic part of the Batman persona. But man, this is a tough choice because they are both just so. I think one of you said, like, this is Batman. This is classic Batman.
Yeah, that's the look.
Then the next one, it's just, I mean, but also that blue. I love the color of that blue on the cape, man. This is a tough one. I mean, now that I go back to this one, I'm like, no, I like this one better. It's a toss-up, but I mean, they are both, you know, from an outsider looking in, and then having grown up on the 60s Batman,
right?
But then being there early, you know, when I was, well, I'm going to age myself here, but then buying comics down at the University of Illinois, when like Frank Miller was doing his thing, and falling in love with the darkness of it, which I think, you know, that's the character. I mean, you know, I think I'm gonna have to go with this one because I love that blue cowl, his headpiece and the cowl, all that. It's amazing, man. I like this one.
Something really just triggered.
It's almost like they kind of have the same thing in mind, and they're trying to do the same thing with the actual suit and with the look and with the physique of the character, but they deliver it in a different way. Like you said, more hyper realistic, more watercolored. The actual illustrations are different, but it almost seems like the premise in both of their minds, even if it's completely random or coincidental, seems like it's trying to do the same exact thing with this character.
Well, you know, it's funny because, you know, Brendan mentioned the fact that the style guide was, there. And so they've probably identified in the style guide, hey, Batman's got to be, strong physique. We want lots of muscles. We want this, we want that. We want this belt buckle. Like those things that they point out, I think is really helpful. Now, one last thing I want to mention really quick is don't get confused. Paul Vato is a kid of the 90s. He just didn't have very good cable. So he had a lot of Nick at Night reruns, right? And so that's where he got all of his 60s Batman from. It's important to understand that Paul is a kid of the 90s. Okay?
He has the DVD or the VHS box set. It's all good. He just catches up that
absolutely.
Way. Right.
Yeah, he actually has the betas, but that was it. Oh, no. It's right. I forgot, Paul. You told me you have an incredible Laserdisc collection. That was my fault. I apologize.
That's right.
So, look, this is a very, very heavy DC week. And it should be. Those blind bags are going to be a monster. Unfortunately for us at One of Us Comics in Henderson, ours are delayed because they were in a different order. So the way they solicited this was very odd from how they normally do it. They solicited it with the blind bags were solicited first with no art, no nothing, no identification what was in it. Just simply, it was on a FOC for a certain day, right? And then from there, it became, available, right? Then about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, then they did all the #1 covers and you ordered all those. So there was a little bit of a misunderstanding on how the ordering went. And so ours got delayed. They're coming, but we'll have them. But it doesn't matter because we learned from Battle Beast with the blind bags. They're going to live for a while. The blind bag concept is definitely something people are going to be interested in. And with cool covers, special art, sketches, autographs that are available on them and more, there's about, I think, 20 different versions of the book that you can get out of these blind bags. That really are going to make chasing some of this stuff a ton of fun. And
they are all spectacular. They are all spectacular. I picked the two of my favorites, but they are all fantastic.
Yeah, they really stepped it up, and I think that was a really big thing. Before we wrap today, because we are coming up against the end of the show, we got an announcement on a new show that's going to be coming up that I myself am involved with, as well as our friends in Portland at the Rogue Toys Portland, and that is Unrivaled. The Unrivaled show is going to be coming to Portland. This will be January 31st and February 1st. Stage hosted by Brendan Allen, of course, our Brendan Allen. And this show is really toys, comics, and cards. It's going to be a pop culture, extravaganza. It's going to be hosted at the newly remodeled and rebranded Hilton Garden Inn in Clackamas, Oregon, which is just right across the street from the Clackamas Town Square in Southeast Portland, right off the 205. Tickets will start at $5 to get in. VIP tickets will start at $15. They'll have some cool incentives and extras. And we'll have artists, we'll have door prizes, we'll have bingo for kids, which will be a lot of fun. That's actually going to be bingo cards. The kids are going to be able to go around and find different vendors, complete their bingo cards for prizes. And this is really a collaboration of bringing back to the Portland area some of the origin of the toy shows and things that were happening out there over the years. And so this show is kind of coming back to bring that back to life. But this will include a little bit of sports cards. So it's really a fandom show is what this is. But again, tickets will go on sale in 2 weeks, and vendors will start to be able to purchase tables starting on the 10th of September. So you'll be able to get your vendor tables. 100 tables for this show. Should be a lot of fun. And we'll have a trade night. There will be a ton of other things that will be going on. And you probably expect a guest or two to be coming out to the show as well. But again, the Unrivaled show, now a new show. And this is going to be produced by my company, Access Entertainment. Will be producing this show. And so the idea behind this show is pretty simple. We want to bring a fandom show back and bring it back on a 2 to 3 times a year basis to the Portland area, to give something to the community, of collectors of the toys, the comics, the cards, and to be able to come out and have a good time, have a fun show, something that's affordable for the family to be able to go to and have a good time. And I should mention one last thing. Vendors also have a lunch included with the vendor tables at this show. So vendors won't have to run off and figure out what they're going to do for lunch. The venue is actually going to come around with box lunches and provide that to the vendors. So they'll get one vendor lunch per day at that. And that vendor lunch is sponsored by Paul Vato. So we want to thank Paul for making that happen. And Vato coin, I think we're going to work out a thing that the VIP package is also going to have, an opportunity to get some Vato coin. But we do need to wrap up this week. I appreciate you guys being here. One last thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that we are missing a cohort, and that is Johnny Jimenez of the Toy Shack and the One of Us Comics Toy Shack downtown in the Arts District. Johnny is not with us as his father passed away recently. We want to send our thoughts out to Johnny and his family as they take time to remember his father. And of course, Johnny is dealing with a lot of that stuff. So we miss him. We wish he was here with us. Johnny will be back with us. But, family comes first. And I think all of us on this podcast know that. But for our first C3 pod, I think it was pretty good, guys. We had a good time. So make sure you guys come back and join us. And we will see you guys next time on the C3 pod here on the One of Us Comics Network.
Oh, I just wanted to tell you guys about my my new coin. So if we could, hello, Vato coin. Okay, bye.